Now we have the Pittsburgh Steelers. Probably between the Steelers and Colts are the two franchises who have done the best in my league, both having 2 Super Bowl wins. And Lovie Smith has both those wins as coach, because Bill Cowher never won a Super Bowl in my franchise. Obviously, Ben Roethlisberger, he was the first quarterback drafted. He was the 8th overall selection in 2004. Of course, there was Eli Manning and Phillip Rivers, but Roethlisberger went to Pittsburgh, and he has done fantastic. 87, superstar dev. Brady Quinn, who was the backup quarterback last year, had a decent time as a starter for Pittsburgh. I guess he was originally drafted by the Chicago Bears, and the Bears in my league have never been that great, other than a stretch with Rich Gannon. But once they lost Rich Gannon, then they haven't done much since. So Quinn found a home as a backup with Pittsburgh. Maybe he'll get a starting job in the future, but I'm very doubtful about it. I think right now he's pretty content being the backup here in Pittsburgh, where he might get a chance to win a Super Bowl. They have running backs, Maurice Jones-Drew. He was a second-round pick in 2006. They did sign Ronnie Brown. They still have Sean Alexander, who's really old at this point, from Seattle. Alexander was supposed to be the second back last year, but I didn't really utilize him that much. He just didn't run as well. They do have Chauncey Washington as well, who was a 4th-round pick in 2008. But he's not going to be really much of a starter. Quinn Johnson at fullback. As for receivers, I've been waiting for Hines Ward to retire, and he just won't. I don't feel comfortable having him in another uniform other than Pittsburgh, so I've kept him around. There is Malcolm Kelly, who I'm trying to make as their top-tier receiver. He was a 3rd-round pick in 2008. He's like 6'4", a big physical receiver, and trying to get him more touches. They did draft Emmanuel Sanders in the 3rd round this year, and that fits the Steelers' narrative, drafting wide receivers maybe in the mid rounds as opposed to using a top pick for that. There's Andre Allison, Jericho Cotchery. Cotchery's been with them for several years. He was drafted by the Buccaneers. Now he's moved to Pittsburgh. They also has, I think it's Des White, who used to be with the Washington team. Brandon Gibson as well, but not really. Really, Kelly and Sanders are likely the future of this wide receiving core, unless I decide to get some more talent to them, which is possible because I think they probably could use some help there at the wide receiving core. But Delaney Walker is an X-factor tight end. He was not someone that, he had the hidden dev when he was drafted back in 2006. He was the 5th overall, 16th pick. They did sign Crumpler from the Falcons, and they do have Jensen. As for O-line, pretty consistent there. Joe Staley at left tackle, Luis Vasquez at left guard. I thought Richie Incognito has always been a jerk, and he fits the Pittsburgh Steeler brand. Chilo Rachal, right guard, their weak link. And, of course, Eric Winston. They did draft Jamarcus Webb in the 4th round, so he might be a potential future offensive lineman starter for them moving forward. But now we're going to get to the Pittsburgh defense, which is a tough defense to go up against. And so their star on defense is Dante Whitner, drafted in 2006. He was the 16th overall pick, where they did not get Troy Polamalu in 2003. They end up getting Dante Whitner, and he's their X factor. They did also draft Deshaun Goldson in the 2007 draft, kind of anchoring that backfield. So the safeties are their strongest position. They also have Aqib Talib, who was a 1st-round pick in 2008, really hitting on their 1st-round picks. They do have Jones, Jason McCourty, Lewis, Tremaine Brock. I probably need to do a better backup second cornerback for them to really solidify this defense. But they're working on it. Because they're with Lovie Smith, like the Steelers were normally a 3-4. That's what they were known for, even under Mike Tomlin. But I've moved them to a 4-3 when Lovie Smith came in. So Elvis Dumervil was one of their top picks when was Dumervil picked? 4th round in the 2006 draft. They have Dan Williams drafted this year. He was their 1st-round pick. They also have Lamar Woodley, Matt Roth. For a long time, I really stuck with Pittsburgh talent like Kiesel and Aaron Smith, but I finally moved on from them to have the new era of Pittsburgh defenders, even drafting defensive end CJ Wilson, who was a 7th round pick, but he's a hidden dev. As for linebackers, they have Kendrick Bell. They drafted Brandon Spikes, who somehow slipped to the second round, 22nd overall pick. Only a 66 overall, but I think that dev trait's going to help him immensely. And then Joey Porter, the veteran outside linebacker, and I'm trying to remember which Williams this is. Let me see real quick. DJ Williams, who's a 2004 pick. So, as you can see, the Pittsburgh defense is very solid. In some ways, probably their DBs are their strength. Their pass rushers have been improving with Doomerville and Woodley. Finally getting an interior lineman that's not an aging Casey Hampton is helpful. But working on maybe some touching up that second cornerback, maybe a DT to pair with Williams that's not Adams. Probably getting younger with Joey Porter. Then their special teamers, they still have Josh Reed, their kicker, and Thomas Morstead, their punter. So let me know if you think the Steelers will continue to be the top of the AFC North, or if you think another team is going to give them a real run for their money.